Hi, I'm Phil Rude. I'm a comic artist, illustrator, and sometimes writer. Um, and today I want to do something a little different. But before I get into that, I wanted to just do a quick housekeeping announcement and say that I will be tabling at Charlie's Summerfest in Fort Myers on Sunday, July 20th. This is at the Hilton in the Bell Tower Shops in Fort Myers, Florida. If you live in or are going to be in the Fort Myers area or Southwest Florida in general, make plans to come by and say hi. I'll be selling artwork, books, and comics, including the one I'm talking about today. Today, I am going to just be taking a look at my newest book that I just got from the printers last week. This is a book I'm calling Feathers and Stardust and Hats. And and that's the one I've talked about a couple times in earlier videos. This is a short comic that was largely an excuse to be experimenting with a few things. So I wanted to take some time in this video to talk about whether or not these experiences were a success. And what better way to do that than to just take a look at the book. But Phil, I'm sure you're saying you surely don't want to show the entire book in the video and give it away to people because they won't buy it after that. To which I would reply, comics are in libraries where they can be found and read for free, and they still manage to sell. Webcomics are fully published online and still manage to sell copies quite successfully, actually, after they've been read. And finally, if you think the experience of watching me flip through a comic in a video is as satisfying as holding a book in your hands and looking at it closely and at your own pace, then quite simply, I weep for you. But okay, let's get right to it. Just by taking a look at the cover image here. This was the last thing I drew for the book, actually, but it is in line with the experimental nature of what I was trying to do, which was to just try out a bunch of different things. Let me just bring up my notes here. Oh, the title. The title, Feathers and Starbucks. Come on now. Not sponsored. Nor would I like to be by them. The actual last thing I did was the typography because it took me a long time to come up with the title. I wasn't sure what I was going to call this thing all throughout. And so once I did come up with it, the circular typography around the peacock drawing was just... it seemed like the thing to do because there's a circular nature to the sequence of this book. But the drawing I wanted to talk about real quick. The drawing is more of a graphic representation of the book than a illustration of any single part of the story, which was really a fun way to present the ideas of this book. I could have drawn the peacock any number of ways, but this seemed a really cool and appropriate way to do it. I'm not sure if it's showing up in the video or not, but I did not use black ink for this. I drew it with blue ink. I drew it with this. I have a bottle of Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay Turquoise India ink, and that is what I used to make the cover image. As you can see, here's the original art for it right here. It is blue, and it comes through a lot bluer in the original in the original drawing of it than the scan and the cleanup and everything else. You can see it's not my cleanest brushwork. It's not my cleanest ink work. But it did come out looking really cool. There's a couple different shades of blue in here that I really enjoyed how they came out, even though I was trying to make it solid blue. It's one of those happy accident kind of things. And then when I was done with that, I went over it with more P.H. Martin, the ink. This is more of like it seems less of an ink and more of like an almost acrylic feeling kind of, it's very thick. But if you get the hang of how to apply it, it's really good for stuff like this, where it's like stars, or you want to draw snow on a black or darker background. It actually works really, really well. Yeah, like I said, it's not as clean a drawing as I had hoped for, but it actually came out pretty well, and the scan actually came out pretty well. I'm never really sure how colored ink is going to scan and clean up, but this did it pretty well. Going on to the inside cover, I took a page out of what I had done for odds and ends, where the inside covers are a shot from the other side. This one I just flipped the image clearly, which also worked. I thought it was cool because it's just sort of like, oh, seeing the other side of it. And I put all my copyright stuff in the same sort of circular typography. Same for this page, which I think this is just a cropped version of a drawing in this book and one from my earlier videos. And yeah, I just like how this turned out. I thought this was a nice little image to open the book up with. Here I've got a quote on the inside from the great Alan Watts in a way that neatly summarizes an idea that I was very sloppily exploring in these pages. I use this book to try to talk out my thoughts and understanding about duality, non-duality, the connection between all things, and, sort of where do I end and you start, or this book and my hand. It's how much are we all connected? It's that kind of idea. I don't have any answers to it. I was just trying to sort of talk stuff out. These kinds of real casually discussed ideas. But then we go on to the first page, which is a page I really enjoy drawing. And I want to show you, I have the original art for it here. It's very close to the actual size. I drew this entire book very close. This is a magazine-sized comic, and the original pages are about 8.5 by 11 on the individual page, and magazine style is something like 8 by 10 or 8 by 10.5. I don't remember, and I'm not going to measure this out right now. So that was really different for me too. Where a lot of times you draw things bigger, and that way when it reduces down, you don't see the warts and all stuff. You don't get as much detail in drawing to size, but it was something I found really kind of interesting, and I really sort of enjoyed doing it for that reason, and for the next reason I'm going to talk about, which is on the next two pages. Let me see. Let me get the original pages here, because this is how I drew it. I drew them 2 pages at a time. I took 11 by 17 Bristol, and just drawing them at that 8.5 by 11 size, that's 2 pages. So I drew the spread instead of drawing a single page. And that becomes real evident here. This is like the setup for the book, and starting to draw some kind of weirder things. And here is what I drew in an earlier video in starting to talk about this. Is this spread here. Here's the original. But I was able to draw these sort of bigger things that spanned 2 pages and do them actual size. It actually was really comfortable and a really interesting approach for it for me. I had to adjust my style just a little bit, but it just made me sort of cut some of the detail out. It doesn't look it in this one because there is like a lot of detailing in the feathers and the eyes and things like that, and some of the more psychedelic elements like this face and the feathers up here. But it still turned out really good and really enjoyable to do it that way. to not have a ton of space to cover in drawing this. It's minimal background. It still gives the images space to breathe. I found this really, really fun to do. Also, because I forgot to put this in my notes and I don't want to forget, I am pointing out that I did the lettering by hand on the page. Also, you can see it here. Lettering is not my strong suit, as most of us who lean on digital for that now, and it's sort of like a lost art. A lot of us who came into comics kind of later, past that era, did not ever actually have to learn how to do it real well. So I do struggle with it. I'm not going to claim that I'm a great letterer or that I am even a good letterer. But this was something I wanted to work on and something that I wanted to do with this comic, and I'm pretty happy that I at least gave it a shot, even if my results were not all I wanted them to be. Okay, now on this page, this page turn represents sort of where the big experiment of this book was. You see the tail feathers run off the edge here, and they pick up here. And this was the big idea that I had, not for the story or the narrative of this book, but just the big idea in the design of this book was that I wanted it to essentially be end to end. You could put these pages together and it would just end up to be more or less a big unbroken side scroll. That was my goal. I was not completely successful with it. Because I was having to account for things like bleed and trim, the parts of the actual printing process that cut things off. I did not have the cleanest lines going from end to end of my original art. So things don't line up as seamlessly as I had hoped that they would. I don't think I was totally successful with it, like I said, but I don't think I was unsuccessful with it either. In the broad strokes kind of way, it does work. You see what I'm doing here. You see that these lines carry over from before, and as you turn the page here, if I can make my thumbs work, you can see this orb, this planet, carries over to the next one. They're just not all as aligned as I had wanted them to be. It was a close enough kind of result, which, I believe there's a way I could have done it a little bit better. But that's sort of a problem for another day. I think I'll leave that one. For future Phil to figure out. Because it just sort of, it's there, but it's not there. I didn't quite hit the nail on the head, and that's okay. I see where I was going, and I hope you do too. This page, or this spread, is one of my favorite ones. I really enjoy drawing psychedelic and sort of surrealist kind of scenes and imagery and putting those into comics. I feel like we're short a lot of those in comics. I'm a big fan of Silver Surfer comics because those were mainstream comics that were often very psychedelic and very cool and very sort of outside the box of what you were seeing in mainstream comics at the time. And I just really enjoy seeing that kind of thing. So I enjoy making that kind of thing as well. Let me see if I can find this original artwork because I think it looks good on the page. I enjoy doing this one. It came out looking really good. It's a lot of black ink. It was a lot of time filling that space in, but it all kind of comes together really well with the peacock tracking through the eyeballs, the dialogue, the carrying on of the ideas of, the peacock is your hat, and you are the peacock, and you are space, and you are time, and you are all of these things, which is just sort of the point I'm hammering on over and over in this book. Here I am breaking things down into panels. I pivoted back and hit some panels for the dialogue and some of the imagery that goes along with it to kind of suggest more non-duality kinds of ideas. Here I'm showing like the man and the woman that are from the beginning of the book right here. By this point, they're sort of merging into the same person to kind of show like no separation between them. Again, just a complex idea I'm trying to illustrate in a very simple way. I also started putting this in here where the peacock is just sort of whistling one note whenever he shows up or whenever they show up because who knows what's what here. Which was just like a fun touch that I had a good time with. Okay, now we get into this part where I start rotating pages. It's almost like an idea that I had, and I think it marginally fits into this book because I'm illustrating space and time, and the idea of space in general is that there is no up, there is no down. So what if everything just started kind of rotating around? I think it ended up working okay. But it's also worth noting that for the record, I do think I was maybe trying to cram a few too many ideas and a few too many experiments into this. This carries on through the next page where we just kind of keep rotating the book. Again, this is a thing that I really enjoy doing, partly because you can kind of only get this. I mean, there's a way to do it with digital stuff, but it's a very physical book kind of thing, which I thought was fun. And then it keeps going around. We launch the module. And this is something I do enjoy that I did is I'm kind of showing up and down at the same time with these two, with the module and the peacock resting on the ringed planet. And then we just sort of carry on with that through the next one. We still are leaning on some panels. We're tracking the two of them, and this is about where the continuity of the pages lining up to each other and having something from from before the page turn carry to the next one. This is where they stop, and we go on to show the Big Bang. The Big Bang of them colliding, and then it just sort of carries on to the end of the book. I'm back to panels here, where it is sort of dust settling, dust forming planets and forming everything in the universe again, and then we kind of wind up similar to where it is. It's broken down the universe and rebuilt it, and it's very similar, except the peacock and the main woman, they have merged. They have merged into more or less the same being. Let me just go. Let me pull this out. I have a huge set of artwork here, and I'm dropping it everywhere. But yeah, that's the basic run through of the whole book. You can see I was playing with a lot of ideas, both in theme and in execution and technique and what's the word I'm looking for? Process. Here's the final page. I am really happy with how this final page turned out because it is so similar to the first one, and I think I just sort of succeeded in making it just a little bit weirder, and also sort of bringing the point home. But yeah, it sort of is in line with what I'm saying about this book is I have a certain amount of affection for this as a sort of experiment. I think I did okay with it. I don't think it's the greatest thing, and I don't think it's for everybody. In a lot of ways, I kind of see this as a small version of a Creative Island project. You can go back and check out the Creative Island talk that I did with Heather Welch, because that's an idea I hold near and dear to my heart, and I am sort of, that's what these experiments are sort of small versions of that. And in that way, I think this was a success. I don't I don't think that I'm not I'm not trying to put down my work or put down what I've done here, because I think I'm proud of it on a certain level. I just don't know if it's for everybody. And I think there are ways that I could have communicated my ideas a little bit better to the audience. But we'll see. Time will tell. I will see how people will react to it. This is currently in my store, in my online store. You can buy it digitally, or if you're in the United States, you can buy a physical copy of it. I will have it at shows. I have them. I'll have a link to it in the show notes. As well as a link to a couple of new poster prints that I got, which are, again, the inside and outside covers of Odds and Ends. This is the outside cover. This is without the graphics, the title over it. This is just the artwork that I had printed. This is the wraparound front and back cover of that. This is the image. And then the flip side is that same image from the back, where we see the alley cat watching a meteor shower. Anyway, these are also listed in my store, and they are listed as a pair. You buy them as a set, as I intended. I created them to go together, and I am selling them together. You can buy them just the pair of posters, or you can add the comic on to it, and I give a little price break there. So check that out. I will also have a link to that in my show notes. That is going to do it for me this time. I will be making a little bit more noise about Charlie Summerfest as I get closer, and I have a couple of other videos filmed and on the horizon. So I will be dropping those shortly. In the meantime, please subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video, and please go to philrudeart.com and see everything I've got going on over there. Check the links I provided here for my new book. I have 2 new comics there in the last few months, and these prints and some original artwork that's going to be dropping there. Until we meet again, please take care of yourselves.